Today we're going to be looking at Intense's new Sniper XC. It's their 29-inch XC bike, and I'm excited. Let's go test it out. So here we have it, the Intense Sniper XC. This thing looks amazing. I love the color scheme here. So coming down, we have the Fox 32 Performance Elite fork, providing 100 millimeters of travel. This thing came stock with the Recon 29 by 2.5 tires. These have a little bit of a lower rolling pattern just because this is a XC bike, but handles really nicely. Comes stock with DT Swiss 1900 rims. These are aluminum, and comes stock with DT Swiss hubs. Really nice. Again, being an XC bike, we got 160 millimeter rotors, which is perfect for XC type racing. Gives you lots of stopping power. The interesting thing about the Intense Sniper is that they've set them up for trail geometry. So instead of having a normal XC stem, which can sometimes be in excess of 100 millimeters, they've actually brought that back down to about a 50 millimeter stem and worked that into the frame geometry. So really makes you feel comfortable. It makes the front end a lot more snappy on the downhills. So coming down, rear shock on the back of this comes stock with the Fox Float Elite. This thing provides a great platform for the rear end, always keeping the rear end engaged and active. So far, you know, the pedaling has been really solid on this thing. I haven't really had to put it into any sort of pedal mode. Just run it straight open has been fine. Coming up, we have a KS Lev dropper post. On top of that sits WTB Silverado. This thing gives you a lot of extra room, especially on an XC bike, to kind of get that seat down and be able to move around the cockpit and get your body weight where you need it to go. Coming down, we have the Truvative crank set with a 34 tooth cog. So all GX Eagle. This is gonna be a 1x12 setup. I believe the gearing is a 10x50 on the rear. And again, you got the GX rear derailleur. This bike also comes standard with XT brakes on the rear. And I love those XT brakes. They've always just treated me really well. All right, so that was just a quick overview of the new Intense Sniper XC. I'm really excited to get out there and ride this. Let's go hit the trails and see how it does. Yeah, this thing is flickable. Extremely light, pedals very well. Also hits these jumps like no problem. Woo! Yeah! It's nimble. Really eats into these berms. Very responsive. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna test it on a little bit of chunk here. No problems. It's definitely easier to get this slacker geometry down some of the steeper stuff than on most XC bikes that I've ridden. So that 50 millimeter stem up front, you know, just makes the front end a lot snappier, allows you to point in the direction that you need the bike to go really fast. Kind of overcast day here in May. It was raining earlier, but nothing but hero dirt, so perfect day to get out here and test ride this Sniper. Oh yeah, nice little jumper there. All right, now you guys get to hear me huff and puff a little bit. Do some uphills. Let's test that Strand Eagle. This bike is definitely a lot of fun. It's nimble on the uphills. It's a really steep section we're riding. It's getting the work done. I could see this as an easy Leadville type bike. Definitely a little more aggressive competitor to maybe like the Specialized Epic. You can hear me breathing pretty hard. This is definitely a technical and steep little section, and this bike just eats it up. And we are going up steep grade right here. I'm not rating these bikes in any sort of technical terms. We're just rating them in fun factor and seeing if they do what the companies say they do. So far, I'd say Intense hit the mark. This bike is definitely delivering a great XC experience. We pushed down a little bit of a technical downhill section. Response was great. It's obviously a little firm, as most XC bikes are. This is obviously not an exhaustive review of this bike. It's just an overview. Can this bike do what it says it's supposed to do? The answer is yes. Intense has great price points on their bike. You can buy directly from the factory, consumer direct. They also have sales agents in most states, and there are still shops that carry Intense. So far, this thing on gradual grade climbs does amazingly well. Extremely comfortable. Feel somewhat upright in the saddle over the cockpit, which is comfortable. All right, well, it just wouldn't be an XC bike review if we didn't take it on some type of a nice long downhill. So right here on top of North Table Mountain, we've got a great fire road. It's got a ton of descent. I think we're just gonna rip down this thing. Let's go. All right, yeah, so great little descent there. Had a lot of fun. This thing is a rocket ship on the downhills. Those 160 millimeter rotors and those XT brakes, man, those things really get the job done. On a lighter bike like this, you don't need huge rotors. In most cases XC, we're trying to cut down on weight, so perfect combination.